Thank you so much and welcome back, everyone. Let's dive right into the next speaker. So now we have Michael Francello here from Shutterstock as he talks about empowering easy, confident, and responsible AI, unveiling Shutterstock's approach to generative AI. And please don't forget to put your questions in the Q&A panel so that we can have a discussion afterwards. Thank you. And Michael, how are you? Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm doing very well. Thank you. And thanks to everyone who's here. Thank you for your time and your attention ahead of time. Perry, could I just get an auditory cue that you can see my screen?
You're good.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. So, hey everyone, I am Michael Francello, Director of Innovation from Shutterstock. Most people call me Francello by my last name. There were 14 Mikes and Michaels in my kindergarten class, so I've gone by it for quite a long time, so you can feel free to call me that. Today's presentation, as Perry mentioned, it's easy, confident, and responsible. That's what they used to call me in high school as well. Yuck, yuck. Here's the agenda today. I'm going to be going through, I'm sure you don't need a brief on this, but it's always good to set the stage. What is generative AI? I'm going to be introducing Shutterstock's AI image generator that's been available to all users of our platform since the end of January. I'm going to be walking through how Shutterstock is different. When you, as a creative, as a designer, as a creative operations specialist, should be using AGen images, in our opinion. Going to go through our protections and indemnification we offer, some features on the platform, some info on how Shutterstock partners are using this, a preview of what's going to be coming up next, some more samples and examples that you are going to see through this presentation, and time at the end for questions. But as Perry said, please put your questions in the chat as we go through. And just to level set and call out, every image that you see as part of this presentation was created with our AI image generator. Okay, what is generative AI? Generative AI is a branch of machine learning focused on creating new content. Here at Shutterstock, we currently have what's called text-to-image generation, entering a text prompt and getting an image out the other side of a generator. And we're also working on text-to-3D generation in partnership with NVIDIA, which is going to be coming out within the next couple months. People will ask, Shutterstock, you guys are a stock company. How are you guys involved with generative AI? A couple years ago, OpenAI came to us and said, we would like to train DALL-E, their text-to-image generator, with high-quality stock photography from Shutterstock's image library. So OpenAI became a customer of Shutterstock's and purchased approximately 450 million images for model training purposes. At 450 million, we are the majority of the training data for DALL-E. By way of that, we are friends, we're partners with OpenAI, and when you use our AI image generator, which is available once again to every user of our platform and has been since late January, you are tapping into the DALL-E model, which is predominantly trained on Shutterstock images, hundreds of millions of them. You may be saying, what makes Shutterstock different? We're a content provider. If you know us at all, you know we're not an AI company, we're not a software company. So our approach to this is that of a content provider. People come to Shutterstock to license assets for commercial use cases because we have a history of providing protections, indemnification, and also helping eliminate risk. So whether it's image, whether it's videos, whether it's 3D models, custom bespoke content, or generative content, especially generative content, we approach this as a content provider. People have started doing this recently, and we're really excited to see it, and we hope more start to do it. Shutterstock was actually the first company to compensate artists, our contributors, for the use of their intellectual property as it relates to generative AI. We compensate them in two ways. We compensate them for the data that goes into training a generative model. When I say data here, I mean the images and the text associated with them. And every time somebody licenses a generated image from our platform, which happens hundreds of times a day now, we pay a royalty to our contributor fund that gets divided commensurately according to the amount of data that was put into the model. By way of how we've helped train this model and also how we've compensated our contributors, we do offer you, anyone, our customers, our partners, the same protections you receive from your current Shutterstock agreement. You also pay the same price for generated content that you do for stock content when you license it from our platform. Some other points worth mentioning, there's an ease of use aspect to it. It's very easy to go from idea, what's up here, to final content. We have a zoom out feature, a variations feature. You can choose from over hundreds of styles with our style picker. I'll show you some examples of that in a little bit. And there's a convenience factor. Shutterstock is a place where people search generate now, and also license content. So it's very idea to go from one place to go from idea, design, and execution. Speaking of, people will ask, when should I use AI generated images? I think the best time to use them is when you have a gap in, let's say, search results. You get an unfulfilling or a net zero search result, or what you're looking for is so unique, it only exists up here. That's the perfect time to use an AI image generator. As I mentioned, we do offer the same protections and indemnification that you get as part of your regular Shutterstock agreement. Not only do we offer that, we also have a human review process. So every AI generated image that's created on our platform that gets put into a cart or a collection, commonly referred to as a lightbox, goes through a human review process. What this means is that a smaller subset of humans, the same team of humans, remember them, who review every piece of content that comes into the Shutterstock platform, reviews your AI generated content to ensure there are no potential issues concerning third-party trademarks, copyrights, or publicity rights. For example, you could type in something fairly innocuous, like New York City skyline. If the Empire State Building is represented there, that is a trademarked landmark. And if you do not have permission to use that for a commercial use case, we have to ensure that we do not claim that we will provide you the same protection and indemnification. Easy example there. Within 1 to 2 working days, usually within 24 hours, you get a green light within our platform that says this has been approved by our content review team, and you can use this as per the full protections of your user agreement with Shutterstock. There is a rare occasion where you will get a red light, that example I gave you before. If it is rejected for commercial use, we can always do an additional review through our legal and our rights and clearances team. Or let's say if you are an advertising agency, if you're a brand and you've created your own logo, a sub-brand, some brand that you have permission to work with, we just need to know that so we can make sure that we grant you the the permission to use that under the full protections of your agreement moving forward. It's a very simple conversation between your client partner and or your CSM. Now I'm going to start getting into our style picker. This is one of the core features of our generator. We have over 100 styles that you can automatically add to any of your prompts to essentially guide the output, to tweak it a little bit. One of the biggest things we hear is that, people always compare prompting to cooking. You need ingredients. The better the ingredients, the better your food tastes. But not everyone is comfortable the first time they step into the kitchen. So what we have are over 100 styles you can automatically add to your prompts. And really what they are is just a prompt behind the scene that supercharges what you're creating. So let's say you're creating something and you want to see it through the prism of a pastel drawing or a pencil sketch or a 3D rendering of an animated character. You're able to automatically add that style with just the click of a button and generate and continue to iterate at the speed of your imagination. This is a quick example of what those styles look like. So this was, I am a visual idiot. I do not have a design background, just so you guys know. So when I tend to use the generator, I tend to go with animals wearing funny outfits. I think this was a fantasy pirate witch parrot with a predominantly pink outfit. Without any style selected, that's what you got in the upper left-hand side. And then all these individual styles that are listed, from pencil sketch to wood carving to fluffy. Fluffy 3D is a really cool setting, by the way, a lot of fun. You can see how it kind of guides the generation and brings it to you through that prism of the filter you've chosen. So for instance, pencil sketch, splatter paint, you can see the splatter right there, coloring book, etc. It's a way for you to very quickly and easily iterate and supercharge your prompts. We also have a zoom out feature, which is commonly referred to as outpainting. This allows you to go beyond the border. People will say to us, like, I like what I've created, but I want to see more. I can tell there's more there in the image. What zoom out does is it gives you a 1, 2, 3 zoomed out version so you can see more of what's beyond that border. So for instance, if you were to zoom out on me, you may see the comics collection. You may see some items on the bar down here. You may see more of the champ here. You may see my cat that attacks me all day while I'm doing these presentations, and I feel like I just jinxed myself because he's been sleeping. Another feature that people really enjoy is called variations. This allows you to take something you've created and run with that to create more things that are like it. Not exactly the same. Frankly, a generator is never going to create the exact same image for you. But what you're able to do is run a variation, and it gives you 1, 2, 3 more versions that are very similar. So in this case, it's really about the framing, the eye contact, kind of the overall shape, the tree monster thing that's going on here. And I think we just had baby forest monster, and this one really ran with the trees, the leaves, the colors, etc., the eye contact, the framing, as I mentioned. Variations is a really fun feature to use to continue to iterate and continue to push forward with what you're trying to create. How are Shutterstock's partners using generative? This is a big question we get asked. A lot of our partners are using our AI image generator. They're logging into our platform. They're using it to create at the speed of their imagination, whether it's auto brands, CPG, beauty, over-the-counter healthcare, lifestyle brands. They are using it to not only concept and storyboard, but in some cases develop ads, marketing materials for social media, for digital media, etc. Another use case is called generative as a service. That's where clients come to us and say, hey, the same way we engage with your studios team, by the way, Shutterstock Studios is basically a custom kind of an agency within Shutterstock where we produce photo shoots, video shoots, we make 15-second YouTube spots, we make full-length feature documentaries that have premiered at Sundance, we do full XR staging, 3D environments, anything you can name there. We are also now using generative capabilities to deliver some of those projects. Sometimes we're mixing them up. An example, somebody came to us and said we would like hundreds of photorealistic images of babies and expectant mothers. Why they wanted to do this is they are actively A/B testing social media ads, one, with generated content, two, A, B, 1, 2, with real photos, and they're finding out some interesting things. One is that generative isn't necessarily a creative catch-all, and they are finding that people tend to gravitate towards authentic human content. It's been an interesting learning experience for them. Another example is people will come to us and say, hey, I created this with tool X. It's a generative tool that is built on essentially a scraped or stolen data set. They only offer us software licensing terms, not content licensing terms. They offer us no indemnifications or protection for using this for a commercial use case. So they will come to us and say, could your team recreate what we've made here? Here are the prompts, here are the reference materials. Could you go through and either A, create those images, B, could you create them and do some slight edits, some tweaking, help us select and kind of whittle down from hundreds down to 10, 15, 20, or go even one step further, could you bring in our 3D product SKUs, could you bring in our logos, our copy, and could you essentially make these market ready? Like I said, Shutterstock Studios is kind of like an agency within Shutterstock. So you have our AI image generator, you have people coming to us to run the generator for them or create content at scale. The third way that people are working with us is they're coming to us and saying, hey, the same way you work with an OpenAI or a Meta or an LG AI Research or an NVIDIA, how you've licensed them your content to train their generative models, we would like to do that as an agency, as a corporate entity. Or they're coming to us and saying, I want to build a model on top of your foundational model, which will allow me to get brand-specific, sub-brand specific assets, output, brand colors, hex codes, etc. Basically things that match our brand kit. So once again, using the generator yourself, creating at the speed of your imagination, coming to us to create content for you at scale, or people are coming to us and saying we would like to license content to train our own tool to build a, let's say, a fine-tuned model on top of your foundational model for more customized use cases. Coming soon, we are working on a text to 3D generator in partnership with NVIDIA. The same way that we've partnered with OpenAI to train DALL-E, we have licensed NVIDIA a large portion of the TurboSquid library. TurboSquid is part of Shutterstock. It's the world's largest 3D model library. We have compensated our contributors for the use of that data, and then when the image generator becomes available within the next couple months, fingers crossed, product timelines are fickle, we are going to also compensate our contributors when a 3D model is licensed from our platform. The deck will be distributed after the fact, so there is a link within here where you can join the waitlist for early access to that tool. That's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to see what the output is like, but we're realistically maybe 6 months, a year away from a world where you have an idea up here, you type it out, you get a 3D model, feeds through a 3D printer, then you have that physical object on the other side a couple hours later from what only existed up here when you woke up in the morning. Pretty remarkable how quickly this stuff is moving. These are just some more examples, and I am winding down in the presentation. I'm just going to keep these up as I continue to talk. These are examples of things that I was able to create by either looking at prompts that other people have used or kind of coming up with my own recipes, right? I want to create something specific. I want to get to this certain thing. Learning how to take what's up here and write it down is a new skill set, but I do find that the more design experience you have, the more creative discipline you have. And I've seen this based on the stunning output that I see from people who I know who are way better at this than I do. If you have that designer sensibility and that discipline to go through the iterations and to take what's up here and put it into words, what you can do with these tools is truly remarkable. This is what I can do with it. And once again, I'm not a creative, I'm not a designer. I don't have that bone in my body. But this is what I'm able to do with a little bit of iteration and riffing around with our AI image generator. Some more examples here, some photorealistic images, some nice pencil sketches, some kind of sci-fi concept thing. It might be an android character for an upcoming TV show. Some more in that category, some funny animals. You can probably guess that was solely mine when I went into it. Nice little bench shot there, outdoors. Some more examples of some photorealistic images as well as some fun ones. I'm going to run through a couple more slides of how our style selector actually guides the output. As you see in the upper left, no style selected. If you were to add something like street art, cute avatar, future Tokyo, manga, floral, this is what you get from it. Once again, no style selected, instant photo, a kid's illustration, sports logo. The clay model one I think is hilarious, so was Colorful Living. I had a lot of fun kind of running through variations and zooming out on that one because the face just got funnier and funnier as I went along. And once again, if you have access to the Shutterstock platform, I really recommend you dive in and experiment and try this out because you do not pay us to license the software, only when you actually license an image from our platform or when you commission us for a bespoke use case. These are just some more examples: mythical, cyberpunk, anime, etc. This was for an auto brand we were working on, just running through different styles, finding out what worked for their concepting for a new SUV that they're hoping to launch within the next couple of years. These are more examples of our zoom out, where you get that 1, 2, 3 zoomed out version, as well as the variations right there on the bottom, what it looks like when you run the variations feature. And it gives you not the same thing, obviously, but something very similar based on the framing, the eye contact, the overall vibe of the original image. There's another example of zoom out, kind of that 1, 2, 3 version, as well as different variations on the same image. Right here again, the zoom out, variations down there on the bottom. And once again, very colorful, very fun. Very subtle differences in the variations, but you do see them. And the zoom out, I think when we were working on this, what the person ended up licensing was the one all the way on the right because they really like that fully zoomed out version. Once again, there we go. Zoomed out tree, slight variations on it. Very subtle, but if you look closely, you can see the differences. Okay, this is where I'm going to wind down. I'm going to pause. These are some of our frequently asked questions. Some of them that I've already answered for you is, how does the AI image generator work? How is Shutterstock taking an ethical approach to AI? Can you explain how the contributor fund works? I did before. We compensate our contributors for the use of their data, as well as when a generated image is licensed from our platform, we pay a royalty into the contributor fund. Questions like, why did my AI generated image not pass content review? And also, what if you feel strongly about using the AI generated image that did not pass content review? We get that all the time. You can always check with your own legal team. We can do an additional review. You can use the generator in a way that doesn't give you that cause for concern. Or as far as we're concerned, this is another way to search and source images on our platform. You can treat these like a stock image. You can edit them. You can airbrush them. Whatever you would do to a stock image, you can do with these. Thank you for the time. I had a lot of hair in the beginning of this year. It's been a really long year, a lot of presentations, but this is my personal QR code for LinkedIn. I'm going to leave this up just for about 10 more seconds. You can scan that if you would like to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm going to zoom out now and see if there are any questions, answer anything that Perry may have for me. But once again, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for your attention. Thanks for letting me be here. And if I do have some parting advice unsolicited, be skeptical of this stuff. Try out these tools, experiment personally, professionally, develop those perspectives, and remember that while generative is very fun, it may not be a creative catch-all and it may not be the right thing for your project. Do not create problems for this to solve. Use this wonderful new technology to solve the problem you couldn't before it came along. Once again, I'm Michael Francello. Thank you very much. I'm also happy to do an extended demo if you would like to reach out to me. All right, I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to stop sharing here. Here we are.
Amazing. That was really exciting. I was, in all honesty, hoping that there was an entire slide of just the fluffy one.
I have a full collection I can send you some examples of.
Um, Thank you so very much. We do have one question that came through. Were the
Yeah.
Shutterstock artists asked to give their permission for their art to be used for AI modeling?
Yes, when we decided to start to play in this space, which was in the beginning of 2021, that's a great point. We've been doing this for well over 2 years now. We changed our terms and conditions, and we gave our contributors the option to opt out of being part of a generative training set. A lot of them chose to opt out. A lot of them have also opted back in because when we do a deal, not only with an OpenAI, like with a Meta, LGAI Research, and NVIDIA, there's about 40 others where we have these relationships with. If you decide to opt out of that, you do not get compensated for the use of that intellectual property. Granted, nothing goes into the generator. Your images aren't used, so you also don't get the royalty. But I think when it comes to ethics and generative, it's the two C's, right? Compensation is huge, but I think consent is a huge one as well. People are allowed to have different opinions on this, and also, just like you're allowed to create at the speed of your imagination, you're allowed to choose your tools, and you should have a choice whether or not you want to be a part of this.
Do you feel that you're seeing an increase in people opting into the program now that people have probably seen over time how it works?
Yeah, yeah, it's hard to tell, because we get new contributors on a regular basis. The feedback we've received is that, hey, this was scary at first and I didn't like it, but now I see what you guys are doing, and at the very least, you're trying to take the right approach here, right? I still think there are things we could get right, especially from an output, from an inherent bias standpoint, but that's why we're working with our contributors to, let's say, create more representative, more human content. So the short answer is, I think over time, yes, people have become more comfortable with it. There are some people who are not going to be in general, and that's totally fine. Our company isn't anything without the contributors and the work that they monetize through our platform, so I think it's so important to give them that choice.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that as people do see that there are organizations out there that are not trying to sneak in some consent into their, T's and C's here, it does hopefully kind of spark that conversation in a positive light as well.
Yeah.
We do have another question from Alex. Do you think it would create an issue in the design community, just as the film industry is going through right now with all the strikes?
Yeah, I think so. It is possible, and I'd like to say that people are going to, ethics is going to trump convenience, but I haven't seen enough examples of that in our society, especially over the past 20 years, which we see what's happened with content. I think that what's going to happen is, and I'm quoting somebody else, and I'm sorry, I cannot think of the name right now on LinkedIn. AI is not going to replace you. A human being who knows how to use it will. So I think very similarly to how maybe designers had to get comfortable with using Adobe, or everyone used to build websites on Flash. The iPhone comes out, all of a sudden Flash isn't accepted. You have to figure out a new way to build a website. So I think it's about kind of like choosing whether you want to pivot and adapt to kind of figuring out your new place in the creative flow state with this. Or I totally understand why people don't want this. They don't like it. They feel like the humanness is taken out of it. But from what I've seen, AI can only be additive. You're never going to replace the beauty and the complexity of human creativity. The idea has to come from here. And when I see content that is created with a model that's trained on AI generated content, it's boring. It all looks the same. It's plateaued. It looks like every movie trailer that's come out over the past 10 years. So hopefully, personally, we start to get away from that, which is what I would like to say.
Absolutely. Could not agree with you more. We also have a question from Don. What does the
Yes.
process look like to build a custom model on top of Shutterstock's base?
Yeah, it's a great question. First and foremost, we need to see a sample of the images you would like to use for that. And really what we find and what we found in the early stages is that not everybody's images are of a high quality, or are they labeled properly? It comes down to the captioning, the labels, the metadata, because if you are not able to feed into the machine that stop sign is stop sign, or family at beach. It's not just family at beach. It is turquoise swimsuit. It is joy. It is sandcastle. It is water in a bucket. So it's like, it really depends. It's kind of like the overall principle of data, garbage in, garbage out. Long story short, the first step is to engage with us we need to understand what exactly you're trying to accomplish, because in context of generative is not a creative catch-all. We have a lot of conversations where people say, I want a fine-tuned model. We get to the end of the conversation, we're like, oh, you don't need that. You need some custom backgrounds. You need an XR environment. You need a digital twin. You need to work with our 3D team. So we like to have that conversation to ensure you're not going off on a wild goose chase and then eventually having the geese come around to chase you because you're jumping into something maybe you don't really need to use as far as a technological advancement goes.
Great point, actually. I'm going to just dive right into the next one. We have about 5 more minutes here. So from Connor, what are the options for output resolutions for AI generated assets that you'd like to license?
Yeah, that's a great question. So right now it is and I'm going to go into my cart in the background here to make sure I have this correct. Okay, it is a 1024 by 1024 pixel JPEG. That is not very large. What we're going to be releasing in the next couple weeks is 4 times upscaled resolution, which is going to 4096 by 4096. Essentially, we have a limitation right now from DALL-E 2. We haven't been upgraded to DALL-E 3. What people are doing right now is they are frankly licensing, dropping it into an artificial enhancer, upping the resolution in their preferred editing suite. There are ways to get around that. We can also do that through our studios team. But as of right now, 1024 by 1024, soon to be 4096 by 4096.
That's not a lot of space to work with. Definitely.
No, not at all. No. Which is why a lot of people use this for concepting, for storyboarding, for social media, for digital media. You're not putting this on a billboard. I've seen it on a t-shirt, which is weird to see something you've designed. I saw one of my fantasy witch cats on a t-shirt, so that's interesting.
Is there an estimation of how far off we are from being able to support billboard size or even, larger print sizes?
Yeah, it's gonna be a while. When we get to 40 by 96 by 4096, I will I'll let you know, but it's going to be a bit.
Okay. From Emily, is it possible to take a Shutterstock image and tweak it slightly with AI versus generating from scratch prompts?
Not yet, Emily, but that's a great point. Little bit of a maybe inside baseball here. Very soon on the Shutterstock platform, you are going to be able to edit stock images with generative capabilities, as well as zoom out and create variations like I showed you those examples of before. That's going to be in the very near future. It's a little surprise that we're going to be sharing with all of our customers very soon. So in the very near future, you will have those capabilities. The contributor receives full credit for that image if you do choose to license it from us.
Excellent. And that seems to be our last question. Does anybody else have anything that they want to ask? We have about 3 minutes left here. Perfect. Thanks, Mark. How far away are you from enabling the 3D generated content to video formatting?
Yeah, that's a great question. I do not have a timeline right now. What we're looking at is sometime late 2024. Text to video is interesting right now because it reminds me of some of the funner days in high school in terms of what those things look like. We're very entertained seeing people come out with text to video generators and seeing the new versions of whoever Star Wars trailer or Wes Anderson directing Star Wars or whatever. It's for our clients, it's not a real practical use case yet. We have to concentrate on what they want, which is assets for commercial use cases. So short story, probably sometime late next year, 2024.
How do Shutterstock partners get introduced to using generative AI for their projects?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think they start by logging in using the generator, or they might be going through a search and they can't find what they want. And then what they'll do is they'll filter to only AI generated images that are part of that larger library. And what they do is they go through, they find something similar to what they're looking for. They copy the prompt, they drop it into the generator, they add their own ingredients, they use the styles, they tweak it. That's the most common way that people get involved. Or we have people who tap into our studios team for custom photo shoots, video shoots, XR environments. They come to us and say, hey, can you create this, but we want generative content at scale. Those are the two most common ways right now.
So it's really just a lot of people kind of wanting to play. Like there's some magic to that.
Yeah, more or less. And I still think that's a great way to, like my comment before, it's good to log in, to play with these tools, develop the personal, the professional perspective, and also understand, like, is this the right thing for your project? That A/B test that I mentioned before, they're finding out generative might not be the right thing for that particular project, that particular audience, or their goals, what they're trying to drive. It could be the medium, the property, but that's what testing is for.
Excellent. And that is actually time. As suspected, it did fly by like we knew it would. It is a very hot topic as well. And I'm sure we could probably talk about this all day. Thank you so much, Francello, for joining. Up
Thank you.
next, we have Liesl Swartz as she talks about maneuvering creativity within constraints. Thank you so much for joining.
Excellent. See you, Perry.